A comfy greatsword build that competes with the meta? Can't be. Right, first things first, this is my third time ever actually even equipping a greatsword in Monster Hunter Wilds, so if you're expecting some top tier gameplay, I'm happy to disappoint you. Right, so there are two builds going around for the greatsword meta lately. This is one of them, 4-piece gore, utilizing the Numinous Shroud beta chest. This gives us Agitator 5, Constitution 4, Weakness Exploit 3, Maximum Might 3, Antivirus 3, Evade Window 2, Coalescence Flinch 3. And obviously the main thing we're going to be getting here is from the 4-piece Gore Magala, which is Black Eclipse, which is plus 10 raw, and then upon clearing Frenzy you get another 5 raw for a total of 15 raw and another 15% affinity. However, and I'm going to upset a lot of people by saying this, I can't wait to read the comments, this is actually a pretty bad build, which I'll be going over in a minute. The next one, which is probably the overall strongest greatsword build, New Udra Maya Helm Beta, Gore Magala Chest, Gore Magala Braces, Gore Magala Coil, Gore Magala Greaves, Exploited Tarm 2. This gives us Weakness Exploit 5, Constitution 4, Evade Window 3, Counter Strike, that's the key one, 3, Maximum Might 3, and Antivirus 3. This is a hell of a lot stronger for two reasons. Agitator, although very strong and very prominent within speedruns, is still an uptime gamble, essentially. Whereas Weakness Exploit, although theoretically not as strong, it does rely on you, the player. If you hit somewhere where you get a white number, Weakness Exploit doesn't apply. If you hit somewhere where you get a yellow number, Weakness Exploit applies. Ta-da. Hit somewhere where there's a yellow number. You have complete and utter control over this. The second point is, greatsword is able to make absolute amazing usability out of the skill Counter-Strike, which, while active, is another 25 raw, plus the 15 you would get from clearing the Frenzy Virus. This is a total of plus 40 raw. This is very powerful. There are two problems with both of these builds though, and that is the fact that you're using Gore Magala, which sounds counterproductive to say because Gore Magala is like the meta set for near enough everything. But no one seems to be calculating the uptime of Gore Magala. I've seen people calculate the rough uptime of Weakness Exploit. I've seen people calculate the rough uptime of Maximum Might. I've seen people calculate the rough uptime of Agitator. No one is calculating the uptime of Gore Magala. And this, annoyingly, changes weapon per weapon. And when it comes to Gore Magala, greatsword is the weakest thing for it. So over here in the training room, we're going to activate Antivirus, Gore Magala, all the good stuff. And we're just going to beat on this dummy and just basically see how quick we can actually get Antivirus up and running with a greatsword. When Antivirus and Black Eclipse fully activates, it is a 60-second buff. However, you might notice that it actually took 12 seconds to activate. And this is on a dummy standing still that doesn't hit you back. So now if we put this into the fact that there's potentially going to be a monster that hits you back, runs around, does a bit of roaring, the uptime for Black Eclipse and Antivirus massively diminishes. However, the annoying thing is when I personally tested this with Black Eclipse trying to run around, even against, is it Quimatrice and Chatacabra, the chicken and the frog in the plains area, the first area, because I'm such a greatsword noob, I barely had a 50% uptime with Black Eclipse against just those two with a greatsword. So, if we then start to do like EFR and damage calculations and all of that fancy stuff with my stats, basically Black Eclipse or 4-piece Gore Magala is just outright not worth it at all. I can get stronger setups running most anything else just because I'm that bad with a greatsword. So, I went to a friend, his name is Dantaine, he's a streamer. He helped me out massively with a lot of testing. So, of course, I've got to give him a shout out. There's a link in the description, but twitch.tv/Dantaine. He is a pretty good casual player, but he helped me out a lot with the Gore Magala testing, and he found that he's able to keep roughly a 70 to 75% uptime on Gormagala. He's obviously no speedrunner. That would literally imply they're getting like an 85 to 88% uptime on Gormagala. So I feel 70 to 75 is more than good enough for a pretty competent greatsword player. So, what is this magical build I'm actually speaking of? Well, it's 4-piece Numinos, which is Zoshia, and 1-piece Guardian Arkveld, which in total will give us Weakness Exploit 5, Agitator 5, Constitution 4, Counter-Strike 3, Maximum Might 3. Now, this might actually seem like a lot more skills, but you need to remember we are actually losing Antivirus and Gormagala. This is made up a little bit by the introduction of Agitator, which again, you're not going to have a great amount of uptime for. However, where this build actually excels is just the fact that you can take an absolute beating, because we have Super Recovery 2. In conjunction with that, if we then start to look at EFR calculations, this is 4-piece Gormagala, Numinos Chest. You might notice that our EFR is 431. I've just highlighted it for you. Just show this is all in real time. It's going to alter the frenzy uptime, and you can hopefully see all the numbers change. Again, top tier player potentially is going to have like a 75% uptime on frenzy. We've got Agitator at 80, Maximum Might at 80. This build doesn't have Counter-Strike in. So if we now show the exact same again, but with Numinos, we've got Frenzy at 0, Agitator at 80, Counter-Strike at 90, which I feel is pretty fair. Probably get that to 100, and then Maximum Might again at 80. We've got like 10 more EFR already. This is a huge increase over 4 Gore with a Numinos Chest. However, obviously, I stated that there is one other build that is also in comparison to these, which is, of course, the new Udra helmet with 4-piece Gormagala. Again, you can see I've got Counter-Strike at 90%, Frenzy at 75%, and Maximum Might at 80. This is effectively 13 more raw over what I am suggesting. However, again, it is now going to be dependent on 2 huge factors. One, what is your uptime of Frenzy? Because if we actually put Frenzy down to like my level of uptime, these 2 builds are now completely even. Completely. And you better believe I'm going to take the one that's got 100 more defense, and 2 lets me just randomly heal passively. The next thing, which is going to be absolutely down to player skill, is whether or not Frenzy is active and you hit a weak point. Because if Frenzy isn't active and you don't hit a weak point, the Gormagala build has quite literally nothing. Whereas the build that I'm suggesting, you'll easily still get 100 because you've got so many more options to help bolster that damage, and it's not relying on whether or not Frenzy is even active or not. Now, if you are a more competent greatsword player, like I am completely not, then new Udra helmet with 4 Gore is going to be your best option. However, if you're not, 4-piece Numinos with the Guardian Arkveld, gloves, van braces, whatever they're called, is vastly superior. So it's mostly going to depend on skill level and whether or not you are me. Now, the last thing I want to go over is how Counter-Strike actually activates. I've seen a lot of people, and I got into an argument with a streamer like 2 days ago, that offset attacks do not activate Counter-Strike, which they do not. Want proof? Keep watching. As you can see, Counter-Strike is turned off. We do the offset attack. Where's Counter-Strike activation? Where is it? I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's right here. There you are. Now it's active. Offset attacks do not activate Counter-Strike. Now, just because I know someone's going to go, oh, well, when I tested it, it activated Counter-Strike, I can also show that as well. And I can also show that it's got nothing to actually do with Counter-Strike. You see, the thing with Counter-Strike is you need to get hit by an attack that would have knocked you back. So, if we do a Counter-Strike against an enemy a tad too late and still take damage, which you're going to see now, there we are, Counter-Strike activated on the offset attack. But did anyone notice my health bar? Anyone at all? So we're now going to show this again, but we're going to slow the footage down, hopefully slow enough so that people can actually see in real time what is actually happening. So we're activating our offset attack now. We're going to release it just a second too late, which will hopefully mean we'll get the offset attack, but we're also going to get hit. You can hopefully see that my health bar went down a bit. I got hit. So it's the taking of the damage that is activating Counter-Strike here, not the offset attack. Whereas if we show the previous footage with Counter-Strike just turning off, we're then going to move into position very, very slowly because we've slowed it down, activate the offset attack, but as we let it off, we don't actually get hit this time, which means our health stays completely full, so we don't reactivate Counter-Strike. The offset attack does not activate Counter-Strike. Essentially, what is activating Counter-Strike during an offset attack is you timing it poorly and taking a hit, or timing it really well, depending on how you want to look at it. But the point still is, the offset attack will not activate Counter-Strike. It is you taking the hit through the offset attack that actually will activate Counter-Strike. So you can do it through that as a mechanism, but it is not actively what is doing it. Which then means the offset attack is not going to be the most reliable way of you activating Counter-Strike, which is going to be just either you taking a slap to the face while you're stood there like an idiot, this guy, or utilizing the shoulder barge tackle mechanic, which will allow you to take damage while obviously not taking the full damage, which will then activate Counter-Strike. But anyway, I've had enough of looking at my horrific Greatsword gameplay, so I'm going to call it here. Hopefully, this helps a few people out, specifically with the whole offset attack Counter-Strike thing. Maybe that answers a few questions, but maybe also have a go at the build. Let me know what you think. However, in the meantime, though, have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.